So I just played the most recent story expansion in Warframe called Jade Shadows, and I want to say something up front that might sound a bit weird. And it's that I think the Warframe story is a lot like one of my favorite games of all time in The Last of Us. As you know, the main theme in the first Last of Us game is about learning to heal from grief. And in the second game is a lot like the hatred that stems from that grief. Jade Shadows and Jade Shadows Constellation is a picture of those themes, and it does it incredibly well while revealing the backstory of the Stalker. And what I want to do is I'll go over the most important takeaways I got from the story, but also the shift in gameplay that comes with this quest, much like the New World quest. And at the end, I'll rate it on a scale of 1 to 100, just because, honestly, I like rating stuff, really. I mean, the main story quests in Warframe since The War Within have been exceptional from start to finish, and it makes me want to go back and replay them, which, if you know anything about me, that's like the benchmark for if I really love a game, or book, or manga or TV shows, just like stories in general, is if I want to go back and re-experience it the instant I finish it. So really the rating is just for fun. You don't have to take too much away from it. But other than that, let's begin. I should probably start with some basic information if you haven't played Warframe in a bit. So you actually play as Stalker for the majority of this quest. And if you remember, he's one of the main antagonists from the second Dream quest, as well as Hun-Ho, who is also a really important character in this quest. But then we get into the story, and this mysterious Warframe Jade seems to care a lot about Stalker, despite the fact that they're technically enemies, right? Like, you gotta remember, Stalker, he hunts down the Tenno, therefore meaning that he hunts down the Warframe, right? But this Warframe is quite affectionate of Stalker, and he also seems to be quite affectionate of her as well. I can't really tell in the beginning here if he knows that he cares about her, or if it's something that's sort of like subconscious in him that remembers that he cares about her, and it's the reason why he tries to help her immediately. Either way, this Warframe Jade is very sick, and if she doesn't get help soon, it looks like she's gonna die. And Stalker can't seem to get her the medicine or like the cure or whatever that she needs by himself, so he's got to get help from, guess who he's got to get help from? The Tenno. Yep. You see, here is where I get like very confused. Not because Stalker seeks help from the Tenno, an enemy of him. I really don't think that's too surprising. If you have loved ones who need help, and you know someone who can provide that help, you're gonna put your ego aside and ask whoever's capable of saving them, regardless if you hate them or not. It's just human nature. What I don't understand particularly is why he contacts a Tenno first instead of like maybe Margulis, or I guess he could try to contact like Nata, like the other Margulis from another timeline, since we know that multiple timelines exist, and Hun-Ho could have definitely helped him with that aspect of it. It just doesn't make any sense that he'd ask for help from the Tenno first, and I'll expand on that a little bit later, but for now, us being a Tenno and a Warframe's life is on the line, Jade is our focus right now and trying to get her better, so ultimately we do agree to help Stalker. At first I was like, nice little collab, bringing enemies together. I always like these type of tropes or these type of stories, sort of like stories where maybe like a child brings together a fighting family. I always like that kind of vibe in stories. But unfortunately, it seems like we were too late, because whatever it was that was infecting or spreading within Jade is too strong. And honestly, what happens in Constellations, I feel like what's affecting her is probably the same thing that was affecting Umbra in the Sacrifice quest, which if it is the same thing that's affecting her, then it's probably safe to say that Ballas probably has some hand in turning her into a Warframe, and also her state of being terminally ill. But before she passes away, we see a flashback of Jade and Stalker, or as he was known back then at the time, Soren. This is kind of like wild. Like, I always thought the Stalker had I basically knew that he had a sad backstory, as a matter of fact. Like, you don't get so possessed and fueled by hatred and have that level of determination against someone unless you have a really good reason for it. And as they say, love and hate are like the both sides of the same coin or something like that. Again, like I said, it just reminds me a lot of both of those Last of Us games. And personally, I thought it was badass as hell when Stalker, he becomes this like one-man wrecking ball of fury when trying to escape with his child at the end of the quest. Because before Jade passes, I guess she was pregnant with his child, and he sort of unlocks this like dad protection mode, just parrying hundreds of bullets, putting his body on the line, just like real grown man shit that I wish we get to see a lot more from like antagonists just in media in general. And it's often the side of them we don't get to see, or sometimes we do see it, but we see it from the wrong POV. We really need to see this more from like the antagonist POV. But yeah, Stalker gets away and he takes his child to safety, and now I guess he's going to raise his child, and that's the end of the first part of the quest, Jade Shadows. Now, I'm not sure if like the name you picked for the child at the end is anything significant because, you know, the different timelines and stuff like that, but I picked Sirius in case you're curious. Anyways, on to Jade Shadows Constellation, and then, bro, like this one. Yeah, so I am confused. It seems like both versions of his son, you know, whoever you picked, Orion or Sirius, they both exist in this current timeline, converging from, I guess, a separate timeline running parallel, and we somehow disrupted it. It also must be the reason why they're fighting, probably because they want to be the quote-unquote real child in the main timeline, or to be the real one to exist to prevent all this destruction. Dude, I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. I'm talking straight out of my ass. Remember, this is all from my perspective and what I've been gathering in the cutscenes, so what I'm saying is not like the reality of the events. I'm just saying how I see it. But with all of these converging timelines and mass destruction from, honestly, these like superhuman warframes, Stalker once again needs help. But this time he was like, nope, not the Tenno again. I'll be damned if I ask the Tenno for help. I don't know why he hates him so much. That's something that's also like just, it went right over my head. I don't know why he hates him so much. But yeah, instead he asked the Warframe ex-Count Umbra for help with watching his son. The infant version of his son. Jesus, dude, there's like 3 versions of his son. And Umbra, obviously, he agrees to help. I mean, he was once a father. He most likely had to go through something similar that, you know, the Jade also had to go through in terms of turning into a Warframe. And he probably would never get rid of that guilt from killing his own son. Even though, you know, technically it wasn't his fault, of course. But a technicality wouldn't make him feel any less guilty. And it was right here why I said earlier, it didn't make sense for Stalker to choose a Tenno to help him before, when he could have just asked Umbra to help him then as well. Like, maybe he just thought the Tenno and Lotus / Margulis, whoever she was at the time, had more capability to help save Jade, but as we know, they didn't. And I think he always would have been better off just asking for help from someone who would have understood his situation a lot better. But now that Stalker has Umbra helping watching his infant child, he plans to hunt down both of the mentors for his adult children. That would be Vina, so like the Orion version of his child, and then Ryoku, the Sirius version. Then when he's done dealing with both of the mentors and he's ready to confront the children, you know what, I'm just gonna start calling them the twins. It's much easier to categorize them that way. But yeah, before that, we had to face off with this like void version of Jade called Jade Mockery. I gotta tell you, man, ever since starting this quest, it's done a much better job with like the boss fights than the New World quest, which was already spectacular and like half the reason I want to go back and replay that mission. But this time, all the bosses, they feel different. They all require a different attack approach, or they have like a different weak spot target area, and it makes each boss feel different, which I can appreciate. But after we defeat all of them, you know, Jade Mockery and both of the mentors, we gotta hurry back to stop the twins, who now probably think they need to kill the original son or like the infant son to be free or whatever, since fighting each other doesn't seem to be working. Then Hunho appears and he's like, you know what? I just thought about this. All I need to do is sacrifice myself and that'll save everything. And that's exactly what he does. He just sacrifices himself. I'm sure it's like a different version of himself, maybe like the one that's connected to Nata or something like that. But he still does sacrifice himself. And honestly, it's kind of fitting considering that Umbra is involved in this quest. But yeah, I guess like that's where the quest ends. The twins can now stop fighting. Stalker, I guess he's now like a happy father of his child / children. You even get this moment where we're making soup for each twin and each one has like a different taste that is like the parent they take after. And in the end, everyone's just sitting around the table, you know, everyone looks real happy, all that kind of stuff, you know, very cutesy pooky kind of stuff. Everyone lives happily ever after, right? But there's only one question left for me. Why? Why now of all times does Stalker's backstory come into play and he appears to be leaving behind his vengeful past to take care of his kid? Like, why now? Why not, I don't know, like 100 years ago? I'll tell you what. I'm about to finish this recording and upload this video. Then I'm gonna go watch a full like story explained video, which I hate these videos so much. I can't stand these story explained or lore explained videos because they leave nothing to the imagination. But right now I'm at like 95% imagination. The other 5% is just like the most obvious bits even a 5-year-old can understand. So I just gotta get on that. But overall, I did enjoy this story expansion. I probably enjoyed it a bit less than the New World quest, but honestly, I mean, that quest is like a full AAA game. It's not really even a quest, so it's not a bad thing. If I had to rate this quest based on its cutscenes, its gameplay, story twist, you know, just all that stuff, it'd be a solid like 88 out of 100. Again, like I said, the score is just for fun. I really did enjoy this expansion, and I can't wait for the next story expansion in the future. I've also been doing the older ones like Angels of the Zeramin and Whispers in the Walls. I just completed those as well, and I don't know, like these quests are so good, and I don't have enough time to talk about all of them, because in the next 6 months we're about to be slammed with so many games. I wish I could just talk about Warframe story in detail and just talk about everything that I guess I get from it. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, Warframe could have just been like a main story kind of game for up to this point, and like I said in the past, it genuinely could have been like a Game of the Year contender. The story is so good in Warframe. It is the best live service game story, and it's not even close. And it's the best content that the game has to offer, and I'm excited to see what they come out with next. So yeah, if you have any thoughts on Jade Shadows and Jade Shadows Constellation, or you would like to touch on anything I brought up, or maybe even explain to me anything that I might be missing, then let me know in the comments down below. That's often where I get most of my information, from the comments or like the Q&A chat in game, if I don't want to watch hour-long videos. So yeah, if you want to explain anything that's been confusing to me, then let me know in the comments down below. I'll definitely be checking those out. And yeah, anyways, that's it for me. I'll see you next time.